I am here today with my very belated Booktube-a-thon wrap-up. I'm using the fact that I just moved as an excuse for this being, like, 3 weeks late. Yeah. Moving on. So you've heard about some of these things already because I did upload some updates during the Booktube-a-thon itself. The first thing that I read was Now and Forever, which is a bind-up of 2 novellas by Bradbury. The first novella was Somewhere a Band is Playing, about an author who finds this little town out in the middle of America somewhere that seems to be not quite right, and he's kind of trying to figure it out. Did enjoy this one. It felt a little Twilight Zone, shall we say, I suppose. And then the next novella was Leviathan 99, which is his science fictional retelling of the Moby Dick story. And I did enjoy that one. I found it interesting the way that he decided to kind of put those things together. And in this one, rather than a creature, the Moby Dick character is a comet, which the captain has convinced himself is going to smash into the Earth and destroy it. The next challenge was read a book entirely after dark. And for that I read The Wendigo by Alton Blackwood. I counted this as a book even though it was kind of short. It was more novella-ish. I think it was like 70 pages. But I needed a short one to get me through the week. And this, in true Blackwood style, is set out in the middle of the wilderness, this time in Canada. And it is sort of, I don't want to say a retelling, but based off of a Native American legend of some sort. I wasn't sure if it was an actual legend or if he made it up, but I'm currently reading Song of Hiawatha by Longfellow, and this creature is also mentioned in there, so he at least got the name from somewhere. I would say pretty standard Blackwood. Lots of nature, lots of not quite sure what's going on type of horror, although in this case more of a normal, I don't know if I want to say normal villain monster thing, but it's a little bit less did anything actually happen and more what on earth was it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was short enough that finishing it after dark was not a problem. And then I moved on to my next book, which was Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. I used this for Read a Book that you found out about through Booktube. And I heard about Okorafor through a number of booktubers who really enjoy her stuff. And so I picked up this one, and I really liked it. I thought it was really well done. This is a first contact story, and it is set in a town off of the coast of Nigeria. And these aliens come in and they contact 3 main people who they've decided are going to help sort of break the news of their being there to the rest of the world and be their sort of agents and helpers in that situation. And so you follow these 3 characters mainly, but you also do get to read from a lot of other points of view as you watch how the different groups within the city are reacting to what has happened. And you follow those who are trying to make money off the situation, those who are trying to push their political agenda, those who want to kill all the aliens, those who think that they're the saviors who have come from outer space, and really just watch how all these different fragments of society are reacting to this change, and how some people are trying to use it to make a push for good, and others for their own personal gain, etc. I thought it was really well written. And I liked what she did with the narrative. The first chapter I actually really enjoyed because it was written from the point of view of a swordfish who was sort of discovering that the aliens were there in a sense because they had hidden their ship under the ocean. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, I definitely do recommend it. The next book that I read for Booktube-a-thon was Solaris by Stanislaw Lem. I picked this up for the Read a Book and Watch the Movie challenge, which I did not complete. I did read the book, but I didn't get around to watching the movie yet. I do still plan to watch it sometime in the near future. But this book was really weird, shall we say. I very much enjoyed it. It was about a scientist who worked in the fields of psychology mostly, who was being sent to work at a, not a space station. What's it called when they're on the planet? Scientific base on the planet of Solaris, because there are some people there who are doing research on the single organism that lives on this planet, which happens to be the ocean, which is sentient, but throughout all of the years since they have discovered this, they have been unable to communicate with the ocean, and they are trying to do this and trying to discover whether or not it's actually possible. And right after he arrives at the station, he starts to see that things are going not quite as he expected, and there's a lot of really weird stuff going on, and he thinks that he might be having hallucinations or that people might be going crazy, and he's trying to figure out whether that is the case or not, or if this has something to do with their attempted communications with the ocean. And there's a lot of just moral dilemmas and trying to figure out what defines humanity. Certain questions along those lines definitely are playing a big part in this. I thought it was very much a well-written book, well translated too. I'm not sure who the translator was, but I'll try to leave that down in the liner notes. So yeah, if you haven't read any Lem, this is one of his more famous books, and I also think it would be a good place to start. The next thing that I read was, I believe there was a challenge for a book that was older than you. I'm forgetting what challenges these things go with now. And so I had picked out one that was very much older than me, and that was Sir Gawain and the Green Knight by we don't know who. And I listened to this on audiobook, and the narrator was fantastic, and the translation was really good too, so I will leave a link down to that in the liner notes as well in case you're interested in listening to it. I really liked that the person who translated it tried to keep sort of the original spirit of the sound that you would have gotten out of it in the Anglo-Saxon. Because at that time, the way that poetry was done in English was very alliterative, versus just being rhymed. So you have where every word in the line starts with the same letter, or most of the words will start with the same letter, and then the next line has a different letter that all the words start with, and it gives you a very different sound to your poetry than what we're normally used to reading and hearing. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Also, I just really enjoyed this story. I think I already mentioned in one of my update videos that this was a lot shorter than I was expecting it to be, because apparently the print version of the book is a side-by-side translation, and so the audiobook, the first half is in the modern English translation, and then the second half is the original, which I could have listened to more of, but I only understood half of what was going on, so maybe another time. After I finished that, I figured a good way to go on sort of trying to get through my books quickly would be to get another audiobook. So I picked up Whose Body by Dorothy Sayers. I've been meaning to read Sayers for a while, and this one was on my list because it is the number one in her Lord Peter Wimsey's series, and so I listened to that, and I really enjoyed this one as well. A lot of fun. I think I probably gave it like 3.5 or 4 stars. Just a really sort of light, fun mystery sort of read. I've heard that this series just gets better and better as you go on as well, and I've actually just picked up and read the next book, which I'll be talking about in another wrap-up that is not the Booktube-a-thon one, soon. Alright, and for the last book that I read for Booktube-a-thon, which I did not actually quite finish on time, I read the last 50 pages of it the next day, so I read 6 3/4 books during Booktube-a-thon instead of 7, but I was pretty close. I'm still pretty pleased with myself. And that was a G.K. Chesterton novel, The Ball and the Cross. I really struggle to describe G.K. Chesterton's novels because they're all very philosophical, and there is a definite plot, but the plot isn't necessarily the point, shall we say, of the novel. So plot-wise, this novel revolves around these two characters who have had a religious dispute, essentially, and one of them challenged the other one to a duel, and they decided that they wanted to fight, but everybody else thinks that a religious dispute is a ridiculous reason to fight a duel, and you should only fight over things like, you know, someone having insulted your mother, or other things, etc. And so the police and all these other people are trying to stop them, and politically people are afraid that this is going to start taking religion more seriously again, I think, and so they're trying to stop them as well. And so most of the book follows these two guys as they are sort of running off together, trying to find a place where they can fight their duel without being interrupted, and eventually running into all of these different issues and people calling them insane, and it's mostly about the ideas behind it rather than what's going on in the plot, because Chesterton wrote it and that's how he writes books, but the characters themselves were also amusing, and you do come to really enjoy them, and they come to really enjoy each other in spite of the fact that they mean to kill each other the entire time, which I really liked about it as well. Not sure what else to say about it. It's hard to talk about a Chesterton novel, I think. But yeah, I'm glad that I read it. It was definitely a very interesting read. If you like philosophy in your books, you might want to try picking it up and see what you think. So yeah, those were all of the books that I read for Booktube-a-thon. I know this is very late, but yeah, it's here. Hopefully I will be putting up my next wrap-up for books that I've read since then fairly soon. But yeah, let me know if you guys have read any of these, what you thought of them, what your favorite thing was that you read from Booktube-a-thon, and I will be talking to you again soon. Bye!